Most people genuinely believe staying broke is simply about not earning enough money yet, honestly, plain and simple. Get the raise. Land the better job. Everything will finally sort itself out naturally, on its own, once more money starts coming in regularly. But look closely at people who got the raise, who landed the better job, who genuinely started earning considerably more than before. Many of them are still broke anyway, sometimes even more stressed about money than they actually were before that specific raise arrived. The real problem was never actually the income itself. It was a set of quiet, invisible habits, running silently in the background the entire time, regardless of how much money was actually coming in. These specific habits don't feel dangerous at all in the moment they're actually happening, which is precisely why they're so genuinely effective at keeping people broke for years without them even realizing it clearly. No single purchase feels reckless on its own, taken individually. No single decision feels like the actual reason someone can't seem to get ahead financially, no matter how hard they honestly try elsewhere. But stacked together, repeated consistently over months and years without pause, these quiet habits quietly drain away far more real money than most people would ever honestly guess if you actually asked them directly. Let's actually break down exactly what they are, one at a time, clearly and directly, starting right now. Habit number 1 is called lifestyle inflation, and it's honestly one of the sneakiest financial habits that genuinely exists out there in modern life. Every single time income actually goes up, spending quietly rises right alongside it, almost automatically, without much real thought given to it at all in the moment. The raise arrives, and suddenly the apartment feels a little too small for the new salary being earned now. The old car feels a little too outdated for someone at this new income level compared to before. Nothing about this actually feels irresponsible in the moment it's happening, honestly. It genuinely feels like reasonable, well-earned upgrading, deserved after all that hard work finally paying off. The actual problem is that this specific pattern quietly keeps someone's real financial position exactly the same, regardless of how much their income technically grows over time. Earn more, spend more, stay at effectively zero net progress, year after year, without ever really noticing the pattern clearly. 10 years can genuinely pass this way, with income doubling or even tripling, and actual savings barely moving at all during that entire stretch. The raise felt real and earned. The actual progress never genuinely materialized alongside it. Habit number 2 is what some people genuinely call the small leak problem, dozens of tiny, forgettable purchases and subscriptions quietly draining money every single month, almost invisibly. A streaming service barely watched anymore. An app subscription nobody actually remembers signing up for in the first place. A daily coffee that feels genuinely harmless in isolation, purchased almost automatically without any real thought given to it. None of these individual purchases feel significant at all, taken completely on their own, one at a time. But add them all up honestly, across an entire year of consistent spending, and the actual total often shocks people considerably when they finally see it clearly laid out. Several $100s, sometimes well over $1,000, quietly spent on things barely even remembered or genuinely used regularly. This particular habit works precisely because each individual purchase feels completely insignificant on its own. Nobody actually budgets carefully for a single coffee. But the accumulated pattern, repeated consistently for years without pause, genuinely adds up to real, substantial money over time. Habit number 3 is genuinely emotional spending, using purchases specifically to regulate difficult feelings instead of actually addressing them directly at the source where they actually come from. Had a genuinely rough day at work, so something small gets purchased online to feel a little better momentarily, almost instinctively. Feeling bored or a little lonely at home, so shopping becomes a way to actually pass the time pleasantly for a while, distracting from the actual feeling itself. The purchase itself provides real, immediate relief, honestly, a small dopamine hit exactly when it's genuinely needed most in that specific difficult moment. The actual problem is that the underlying feeling never really gets addressed properly at all, so the exact same pattern repeats itself again and again, predictably. Bad day, purchase. Boredom, purchase. Loneliness, purchase. Each individual purchase quietly reinforces the exact same automatic pattern, training the brain to reach for spending specifically whenever real emotional discomfort actually shows up unexpectedly. Over time, this becomes a genuinely expensive coping mechanism, one that solves absolutely nothing emotionally while steadily draining real money away in the process. Habit number 4 is having genuinely no real emergency fund set aside anywhere, ready specifically for whenever life inevitably throws something unexpected directly at someone eventually. A car repair shows up suddenly, completely unplanned, right when it's least convenient financially. A medical bill arrives out of nowhere, larger than genuinely expected beforehand, catching someone completely off guard. Without any real savings actually sitting there ready and waiting, these completely normal, predictable life events instantly become genuine financial emergencies, usually solved quickly through high-interest credit card debt or expensive short-term loans instead, out of pure necessity. That specific debt then quietly starts costing real, additional money every single month afterward, in interest payments alone, on top of the actual original expense itself. This particular habit is genuinely sneaky precisely because it's not really about overspending directly at all, in most cases. It's about underpreparing consistently for things that are honestly completely predictable in general, even if the specific timing itself stays genuinely uncertain. Cars will eventually need repairs. Health issues will eventually come up at some point. Without a real buffer already in place beforehand, these predictable events quietly become expensive debt instead. Habit number 5 is comparison spending, genuinely shaping financial decisions specifically around what other people around someone happen to be doing, rather than around their own actual real needs and genuine priorities. A friend buys a new car, so suddenly the old, perfectly functional one feels genuinely inadequate by comparison, even though nothing about it actually changed. Everyone else seems to be traveling somewhere exciting on social media constantly, so an unaffordable trip gets booked anyway, despite the actual real financial strain it genuinely creates afterward for months. The specific purchase isn't actually driven by real personal desire at all in these particular cases. It's driven by quiet, persistent social pressure instead, dressed up convincingly as genuine personal choice made freely. This particular habit is genuinely expensive precisely because it never actually has any real, natural stopping point built into it at all. There's always someone else with more, doing more, buying more, somewhere close by to actually compare against constantly. Chasing that specific moving target consistently keeps spending permanently ahead of actual genuine need, year after year, without any real end point ever naturally arriving. The comparison itself never actually stops, so neither does the resulting financial strain it consistently creates. Habit number 6 is genuinely avoiding money entirely, refusing to actually check account balances, avoid budgets completely, and generally stay deliberately unaware of one's own real financial situation on purpose. This usually comes directly from genuine anxiety, honestly, not laziness at all, despite what it might look like from the outside looking in at first glance. Looking closely at the actual numbers feels genuinely scary, so it simply doesn't happen very often, if ever, no matter how much it's actually needed. But that specific avoidance doesn't actually make the underlying problem disappear at all, no matter how long it's ignored. It just means small issues go completely unnoticed and unaddressed, quietly compounding into much bigger ones over time, silently. Someone avoiding their finances genuinely can't actually catch a small problem early, precisely because they're not honestly looking closely enough to actually notice it happening in real time. A subscription nobody uses anymore keeps charging monthly for years, completely unnoticed. A fee keeps quietly draining money away steadily, month after month, without correction. This particular habit doesn't directly cost money in any single obvious moment. It costs money specifically through everything that never actually gets caught and fixed early, simply because nobody was actually looking closely enough to notice it happening. None of these 6 specific habits genuinely feel dramatic in the actual moment they're actively happening, and that's honestly precisely the entire point worth understanding clearly. Lifestyle inflation feels like reasonable, well-earned progress. Small leaks feel completely insignificant individually, one at a time. Emotional spending feels like genuine, harmless relief in a difficult moment. No emergency fund feels like a problem strictly for someday later, not right now. Comparison spending feels like ordinary, normal life happening naturally. Avoiding money entirely feels considerably easier than actually facing it directly and honestly. Each one, quiet and individually harmless seeming, compounds steadily into real, lasting financial struggle over years of consistent repetition. So look honestly at these 6 specific habits, one at a time, and ask yourself directly which ones genuinely sound familiar from your own actual life right now. Not to judge yourself harshly about it at all, but simply to actually notice clearly what's genuinely been happening quietly in the background this entire time. Pick just one specific habit to actually address this month, deliberately and calmly. Track the small leaks honestly for 30 days straight. Build one small emergency buffer, even if it starts out tiny at first. These habits weren't the reason you were unlucky financially. They were simply patterns, quietly repeated, and patterns can always genuinely be changed, starting today, one honest habit at a time.